right, welcome to episode 6 of It Stinks, the Critic podcast. I'm your host, Brian Rubinow. Today we're going to be looking at season 1, episode 6 of The Critic, Eyes on the Prize. But before we dive into the episode, I actually have another special guest. Would you guys please welcome someone you may recognize from The Critic and from elsewhere? It's Orson Welles. Hello, Orson. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Brian. Thank you for having me here on the radio.
Yeah. So how's it going? I guess you're dead. So am I talking to your ghost right now?
Exactly.
Wow.
And I also guested as a ghost on this very show.
That's right. That's right. We are going to get some Orson Welles in this episode.
Yes.
And then, you show up later on. I have to say, you are actually one of my favorite parts of this entire series.
Well, thank you. You could say that of any television show I was on, especially that awful Dean Martin sketch comedy show.
What, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In?
No. Dean Martin had his own sketch comedy show. It's real.
Oh.
Go look it up. Some of the sketches are upwards of 12 minutes long.
Oh my God. Yeah, was that that must have been back in the day when a TV show could be like 90 minutes.
Yes, there were no real rules or standards.
Yeah. So what's heaven like? I imagine you must have all the fish sticks and frozen peas that you can eat up there.
Mrs. Pell's, and they're even better raw. They're so good. There's infinite fish sticks, and up here there are no critics. They're just not let in. So
did you what did you think of the way the show The Critic portrayed you?
I think it was as accurate as anything else I've ever been in. I truly loved to eat. That's not in dispute.
I guess that's true. And I know that Hollywood studios, ever since the Magnificent Ambersons, you had a unfortunate history of studio meddling in your work.
Those rotten bastards, studios. I'm so glad the studios are basically dead.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, Disney is pretty much just gobbling them all up one by one.
And they deserve it. So
you're kind of rooting for the whole Hollywood system to crash and burn, I take it.
I'm rooting for TikTok.
Oh, wow. So if you were alive, you would be on TikTok?
I would be on TikTok. Yeah, I would do it all in black and white with really great noir lighting. But I would be on TikTok. It's a place for independent creators.
Oh, my God. I would love to see some Orson Welles TikToks.
Heaven is sponsored by TikTok. It's just me dancing to remixes of my voice from the Transformers.
I think we would all love to see that. So we talked about the studio system. What do you think about films these days? Do you think filmmaking as an art form has evolved at all since your time?
I think it's mostly fallen apart, but that's how it should be, I mean, like I've said before that, film is sort of an easy medium. And great film was happening because that was the art of the time, just as great plays were the art of the time back in Shakespeare's day. But now we've got to evolve past that, and I think improv is the future.
Oh, you think improv is the future? Wow.
Yes. It's a new American invention. It's barely, and no one's tapped its real potential.
So that actually reminds you. Do you hang out with Del Close up there?
Well, no, he's got back on heroin since he got up here.
Oh my God, there's heroin in heaven?
Well, because there's no Sharna in heaven. Who could keep him clean?
Well, that's right. I guess she's still stuck down here.
Yes, it's sort of a hell for the rest of you.
Oh, true enough. All right. Well, Orson, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your contributions to this awesome show.
You're very welcome. I have to get back to my fish sticks now.
All right. And oh my God, he just got sucked up through a portal. I guess that's how you get back to heaven. Wow. Okay, well, that was certainly something. But now let's actually introduce my regularly scheduled guest for this episode, a comedian and podcaster and Twitch streamer in his own right. Please welcome Frankie Griffen.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Brian. I can't believe I just missed Orson Welles.
Oh, I know. It was so weird. I didn't do a seance or anything like that. He just sort of appeared.
He just sort of popped in.
This podcast might be haunted.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now is probably the worst time in recent history to be haunted by anything.
Well, because we're all stuck inside. We can't escape.
Like, where do you go? Like in the horror movie, like you always like, why just move out of the house? But now you can't. You are actually stuck with the ghost.
Yeah, that's true. They usually come up with some contrived reason to trap people in their house in those movies, and and now it's like we're living in one of those movies.
It sure is. And speaking of movies,
yes, we are here to talk about a show all about movies. The Critic. So we're looking at season 1, episode 6, Eyes on the Prize. So just to give the synopsis here. After the failure of his 1000th episode special and party, Jay is told that his TV show Coming Attractions is in trouble. It's time to take drastic measures. Yeah, so this is kind of a setup for an episode that we've sort of seen before of basically Duke trying to meddle with Jay and get him to change the show. But I think we do get a lot of good gags in this episode, and we kind of hit some new territory.
And what was wild to me is this is halfway through season 1, and they're already like so able to get so meta with the show.
They really they're not afraid to have Jay just cancel the show or lose the show and try something completely new.
So much happens in this episode. I forgot how we don't even get to the Pulitzer Prize part to the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, it really moves fast, and the plot definitely is very freewheeling. Characters are introduced in one scene, and then we never see them again. Gone. And just gags just come and go at a lightning pace.
He gets morbidly obese in the middle.
Yeah, he goes through so many changes. All right, but let's start at the beginning. Okay. So we actually start with Jay interviewing the poison-spitting dinosaur from Jurassic Park.
I've got to tell you, I hated that scene in Jurassic Park where you spit poison in the obnoxious fat guy's face. I did not see that coming.
That's where we start at an insane level of magical reality where an actual dinosaur is on Jay's show.
Well, in a previous episode, we had a dancing bear. And I guess, having the dinosaur from Jurassic Park is a heightening from that. I really enjoyed that. And that basically gets us into the fact that we are on Jay's 1000th episode spectacular.
Yes.
Which makes me think, is Jay's show 5 days a week? Because I don't know if you're a movie review show, you would run out of material very quickly. So
but wasn't Siskel and Ebert on every day?
No, they were once a week, I think.
Oh, really? I guess I must have this false memory of childhood of them always being on.
But yeah, so I guess this is Jay's 1000th episode, so he's been doing it for however long. He's 36. Maybe he started when he was...
That was a depressing reveal.
I know, right? Everyone was so much older back then. So on Jay's 1000th episode spectacular, we get some clips, I guess, from past shows that are, we haven't actually seen them before. They're just for this episode, but they're great.
Which everyone gives a lot of credit to Community to, which it kind of deserves, but Critic got there years before.
Oh yeah,
for the fake clip show.
Oh yeah, I mean, Critic was, I think, groundbreaking in a lot of ways. A lot of the random cutaways, that's basically Family Guy's whole deal. But
and this one even has a random cutaway that becomes a non-random bit later when we see Jay playing in his dorm with his slot cars.
Oh yeah.
Because it seems like a gag, and then it's in his student film later. That's just genius.
I loved that. Yeah, the slot cars come back. But on the 1000th episode spectacular, the first fake clip of an old show we get is his interview with Cher.
You no good. You piece of kiss my white feminine toned and tattooed.
Which is another gag that I've definitely seen pop up in other shows.
Sure.
I remember it was on South Park, it was in Happy Gilmore. Just the long, uninterrupted stream of profanity that gets bleeped out. I think that's just a great gag. It's classic.
Funny. Yeah.
Whenever you can pull that off.
I wonder if it'll, like, how much longer it'll still make sense. Because, like, it's so hard to find bleep stuff. Like, no one's bleeping anything really nowadays, right?
Oh, yeah, because so much stuff is just on streaming or online, just stuff that is outside of the FCC's domain. Yeah, I don't know. I hope, there's always, I think, comedy writers to hold the torch and keep that gag going.
Comedy writers do love old stuff.
I mean, people will get it. Like, you'll see, like, YouTubers, like, bleep themselves sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah. Then we get our first celebrity guest of this episode. We get Adam West coming on the show.
Yeah.
Tell us all about your amazing film career.
Well, Jay, one of my most amazing films is The Happy Hooker Goes Hollywood. It came out in 1980. It's one I'm sure you enjoyed all the way to the end.
All right. Thank you. We're out of time.
I just got here.
I loved seeing Adam West. I don't think they really used him that great here. It's just sort of like Jay is just not very impressed with him. He's not that excited.
Yeah. Well, this is like before he was interesting again, right? This is... He was merely washed up at this point.
Yeah, because it was definitely after Batman, and he was just sort of not known for much at the time. I guess I don't know if he was like promoting something at the time when this show was on.
I think he was just gettable. Like, I think the other reference in that scene is Lorne Greene, which is also kind of a deep cut, even in the mid 90s.
Yeah, there's a few deep cuts in this episode because I definitely did not know who Lorne Greene was, and then later at the Pulitzer Prize ceremony we get Norman Breslin.
Yes, who just died.
Jimmy Breslin. Jimmy
Breslin. Yeah.
Who I actually looked up. I guess he was a famous New York columnist and won a Pulitzer Prize himself. So I guess it kind of makes sense for him to host the Pulitzer Prize ceremony.
It makes sense, but like, who in the audience would have gotten that?
I know. I definitely would not have gotten it at the time. And
maybe we're both just terribly ignorant of New York journalism.
You know, that's I'm okay admitting that I am definitely ignorant of New York journalism. Like, I know just enough to know that I hate David Brooks and I hate most of the New York Times editorial page.
Yeah, it's bad stuff.
And that's about it. All right, so after the kind of disastrous Adam West interview, we fast forward to the after party. And wouldn't you know it, absolutely no one is there.
And there's so many gags in this segment.
Oh, yeah. Like, we get the fruit basket that Jay just throws to the floor. We get the note from Doris, who says she's... What does she say? That she's
there was an unexpected death in the family.
Dear Mr. Sherman, if it weren't for an untimely death in my family, I would have been at your party. Doris. Come on, spare! Yes!
Well, and like, even like right away, there's a visual gag on the banner where it says like, "Congratulations, Pee Wee Herman," which has been crossed out to make it Jay Sherman instead.
Oh God, I love a good banner gag. Like Arrested Development probably has my favorite, but they're always good. I got to shout out the ones in BoJack Horseman as well. I don't know if you've seen that show, but
I have not, because I heard it was really depressing.
It does get depressing, but it's also really funny mostly. But it's got great banner-based jokes that I won't spoil for you if you decide to watch the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So because no one comes to the after party, here's where sort of the plot of the show kind of kicks in.
Right.
So Duke comes in, says, Jay's show is in trouble. He's repeating himself. We get this tape of Jay reviewing.
Such a good.
Yeah. He was reviewing 3 Tom Cruise movies, and they're the exact same review verbatim.
Your problem is you're starting to repeat yourself.
Rain Man, A Few Good Men, The Firm is the latest stinker from Tom Cruise. He doesn't act anymore. He's on cruise control. I just made that up. Hachi Machi.
Yeah, and then I guess the last thing in this scene, the one woman shows up, and turns out she's actually a fan of Bobby Sherman, the singer. So Jay just kind of rolls with it and starts singing.
Would you sing the theme from Here Come the Brides for me, please?
Wait a minute. You think he's Bobby Sherman?
Shh. The bluest skies you've ever seen in Seattle, and the hills the greenest green in Seattle. How are you? Like a beautiful child growing up free and wild in Seattle. In Seattle. Yeah!
But Jay does so many voices and characters, and he's actually a really good entertainer.
Yeah, I do enjoy whenever Jay sings on this show, which is actually pretty often.
Testament to John Lovitz, really.
Yes, the eminent talent of John Lovitz.
Thank you.
I definitely did not realize until I was watching the show again for this podcast just how much he sings. It's usually once per episode. Yeah.
It's a very musical show.
So the next day, Jay is at lunch with his hunky Australian actor friend, Jeremy Hawk. Oh, so this is where we get the first flashback to college where Jay is racing slot cars.
When I was in college, man, I could go at it all night long. And it's lap 397 in the Jay Sherman 500. Vroom, 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 vroom.
Hey, Jay, we broke my bed. Can we use yours?
Okay, but your car is 4 laps behind. Loser.
He goes, I used to be able to go all night long. And it's him. And then his roommate, I love that you find out he's racing his roommate's slot car for him.
Yeah. His roommate was just humoring him. I was like, yeah, I'll race slot cars with you, whatever. Yeah, start without me. I actually did go through kind of a slot car phase as a child.
So did I.
Yeah, it was kind of a fad, wasn't it? In the 90s, you could go
there was
to
a revival of them.
Yeah, you could just go to a slot car store where they would have tracks set up, and you could buy custom parts for your own slot car.
Because my dad used to play with the more dangerous versions when he was younger. Well, yeah, or at least this is my recollection of boy. But and then he got us into slot cars, and we spent a lot of time playing them. And I got really familiar with the smell of overheating metal.
Oh yeah. And as much as you're not supposed to do this, I would always just jam the accelerator and watch the car go flying off the track.
That was pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So then Jeremy says he's actually 43 years old. Jay immediately spills the beans, and then we get just these rapid fire gags of Jeremy being 43. It's on the cover of tabloids. It's in the news. We get Bob Hope making jokes about it.
Hope makes jokes about it.
Hey, I don't want to say Jeremy Hawk is old, but when he went to the DMV to get his driver's license, there was no line. Hey, that's old, man. Wow! I haven't seen a wave this big since Delta Burke did a belly flop into Shelley Winter's jacuzzi.
And then Bob Hope gets carried out to sea?
Yeah.
For no real reason other than it's funny, I guess, to watch Bob Hope get washed out.
Yeah, so that's definitely the thing about this show. Rapid fire jokes, all over the place. to the point where the plot of the show just kind of takes a back seat a lot of the time. But, I don't really have a problem with that. The plots are usually so simple that they're just there to be a launching pad for jokes anyway. Right. Which I think is the real strength of this show. Just like so many memorable jokes and gags, just a million a minute.
Powerful joke writing.
Yeah, probably, it's got to be that Simpsons pedigree, right? From
I think so.
Al Jean and Mike Reese.
I could definitely see like a Jimmy Breslin reference fitting in fine.
Yeah. But so the actual only plot point from this scene with Jeremy is that he gives Jay a business card for a personal image consultant, Adolf Hitmaker, who when we meet him in the next scene, he's voiced by Phil Hartman. It's a surprising, nice surprise to see.
I know you're going to tell me to lose weight.
Don't you dare. If you want the world to love you, you must be big and jolly like Santa Claus or Rush Limbaugh.
You mean I can eat whatever I want? Wow, you're not just some quack, are you?
A quack? Could a quack have escaped from a mental hospital in the Philippines? I don't think so.
But this also kind of gets back to what we were saying earlier. Like, Adolf Hitmaker is in this one scene, and then, like, that's it. Like, he doesn't come back.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of setup. There's they spent a lot of time designing him visually because he has a very specific look.
Oh yeah, he's got like a weird goatee,
and his hair's like dyed partially.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's it. He's there for like 90 seconds.
Yep, just a one and done.
And you find out he escaped an insane asylum.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then I forget what like the actual line is, but basically he tells Jay to like start bulking up or something.
Because he's like, you're gonna tell me to lose weight. He goes, lose weight? Why would I say that?
Yeah. So then the next day on the show, we see Jay is now like twice as big. Like literally, he's even like
so
taller because he's just like giant, and he's like. Yeah, eating tons of junk food.
He goes, John Candy, don't mind if I do.
Yeah, and we see these reactions from people watching the show. We get like his usual stoned college student audience. Right. We get Marlon Brando. In a quick cameo.
Yeah, he's only shown from behind, probably so he wouldn't be able to actually sue.
Well, we see, Marlon Brando also shows up where it's Marlon Brando. So I don't think that was the fear. But yeah, we only see him from the back. He's not named or called out or anything.
Right.
But then I think my favorite one from this quick little sequence is we go to like a electronics store where there's a wall of TVs and the guy's trying to sell a TV to some people. And
he's got digitally enhanced sound.
Yeah.
And each TV comes with state-of-the-art, digitally enhanced sound.
And he puts on Jay's show, and his giant face fills up every screen, and we hear this giant belch that sends them running.
And they stay there long enough that we see the salesman like slump his shoulders because he lost the sale. Like.
Yeah, I love that. That leads us immediately into him going for liposuction. Another great gag because they start the machine running. The doctor says this will like quickly take all the fat out of your body, and then we just see time passing.
It just goes outside, and this is like one of the most patient scenes in this whole episode. Is the time slowly passing as the trees.
They really spend a good amount of time because it goes from like night back into day. Then we see like the leaves fall off the trees. And then the perfect capper to this scene, an ice cream truck drives by, and then Jay runs out, and he's got the machine still attached to him. He's dragging it behind him.
Behind him.
Love it. perfect button for that scene.
And then it's just like, yeah, so he's fat for like 2.5 minutes. Like it's a whole thing, but it's crammed into such a short part of the episode.
Yeah, like on The Simpsons, like Homer's fat for an entire episode, and then he's back to normal by the end. But yeah, in this, it's like a beat in Act 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Back at...
I think he goes back to the studio and Duke's like clearing it out.
Right, yes, this is where Duke like takes Jay's chair away.
Yeah.
So Jay says he's got to come up with some better ideas, and he gets naked in his office.
That's his process.
Yeah. Like, I know you and I, we're both writers. We're both creative people. I don't actually do that to get the juices flowing.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
And it's like, I guess it pays off because they kind of make a joke out of it, but it's just kind of like...
I honestly think they thought of the joke of him getting fired naked. Like, okay, how do we make that make sense?
Yeah, so they probably worked backwards with it.
It feels like they worked backwards because he even says like he brings up other writers who had like a weird thing. Like he's like Hemingway wrote Standing Up, and he has some other reference.
Being naked inspires me artistically. Ernest Hemingway, he used to write Standing Up. Agatha Christie used to write in a bathtub while eating apples.
Please keep talking. The spray makes me feel like I'm at Coney Island.
But yeah, so Duke does burst in the office while Jay is writing naked. And sadly, he fires Jay, and we get this very like kind of embarrassing scene with Jay naked on his knees begging for his job back. And then a photographer comes in.
Mr. Phillips, I'm from a disreputable supermarket tabloid, and I won't need a minute more of your time.
Another, a second tabloid joke of the episode.
Yes.
So good. And then the joke, which kind of feels like now I feel like the joke's been done a few more, like this line, like the hard cut line, but he goes, "But you can't take my dignity." And then Duke throws his clothes out the window and says, "Fetch, boy."
Yeah. That's kind of degrading, calling him boy. Like,
it's so, yeah.
I don't know if that's kind of like a Southern thing because he's from the South, but yeah, it just feels very like he's flexing his authority.
He sure is. Yeah. The Charles Napier's the voice actor.
Yeah. Who I mostly remember as the general from the first Austin Powers movie.
Right.
But yeah, no, he's great. I mean, Duke is definitely one of my favorite characters. So many great gags with him,
and he's so insane, and like he's like a demigod. Oh, like
yeah, yeah. Although, like in this episode, though, like Duke is in it, but he doesn't really have a lot of great gags. I don't think he's mainly just there to bother Jay.
Later, when he surprises Jay by being in the room, how did you get in here? And there's a Duke shaped hole in the wall.
Oh yeah,
and then when he leaves, he walks through a different wall.
Yeah, we hear the crashing sound again. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, they give Duke that one funny gag.
Just peppered him in a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so that takes us through Act 1. As Act 2 begins, we get another one of these one-off characters who's never going to come back, but it's Jay visiting his agent.
Also voiced by Phil Hartman.
Yeah, this really old guy who's looks like he's seen better days. He's popping antacids like they're candy, and he's just kind of very like gruff and like haggard looking. He thinks Jay is Pat from SNL.
Right.
Hey, Bernie, my favorite agent.
Hey, you. My favorite guy or girl?
I'm a man.
Sorry, I thought you were the Pat character from Saturday Night Live. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Who the hell cares? The kids seem to like it. To a point.
It's just a little. Phil Hartman took a few seconds to shit on SNL.
Yeah.
And he starts doing like a stand-up routine. Like he's just insane.
And what's with airline peanuts these days? I mean, you need a wrench to open the bag.
Oh yeah. Like, well, and that also shows kind of how out of touch he is because all the things he's joking about are like are sort of like, well, who cares about airline peanuts? Like that's
and,
some of the
and
staleless material.
How hard they are to open, which is such a bizarre complaint.
Yeah, like not even jokes about like people being allergic to them.
Nope.
Like that's how out of date these jokes are.
You need pliers to open them up. It's so it's just so up there.
Yeah. Oh, and then so yeah, they kind of crap on SNL, but then he says he's got one job available, and Jay's like, "Oh, it's not on Fox, is it?"
Which is funny because this is the show was on ABC, but then it went to Fox after ABC like, dumped it off.
Yeah. So yeah, this show's not afraid to insult anyone. Because they even, I mean, in a later episode, I think they basically insult ABC because, like, it's like the final line of the episode. Jay is like, and a special good night to people just tuning in for Home Improvement. So yeah, I love when they get meta like that. It's awesome.
But so the job he takes is a job from Stripes. English for cab drivers.
Oh, that's right. Wait, is it cab drivers in Stripes? Because I know.
No, I see. It's like English as a second language, but like visually, it looks like it just reminded me of the Stripes bit.
Yeah, it's definitely a very similar scene because it's Harold Ramis in Stripes who's teaching the ESL class, right? Yeah. And in that the class that Jay is teaching, we actually see some of the actual cab driver characters that have popped up in the show before.
Really?
They actually bring them back. Yeah, like
what an amazing detail.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Jay is teaching English to cab drivers.
My life is a living hell.
They kind of have trouble saying that, but then he says,
the only thing that gets me through the day is lithium.
Lithium. Just so good.
Yeah. And actually, this ends up not being just a one-off gag. English for cab drivers is going to come back. But before we get to that, we kind of just flash to Jay back at his apartment. He's got Margot, he's got Marty and Jeremy, and he's going to show them his student film, L'Artiste est morte.
And Jeremy gets a bizarre throwaway joke about a porno he was in that no one really reacts to.
I was in a student film once. Well, it wasn't a student film, actually. Although it had several women dressed as cheerleaders. I played Professor Spankum.
And then, like, nobody says anything. They just move right on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably not appropriate for Marty or Margot to hear but
I think Marty's like reacts visually, and then we just move on to the student film.
Okay, yeah. The student film is great. It's every like student film stereotype you could imagine. It's super pretentious. It's super arty. It blatantly rips off a bunch of other films that I guess were Jay's
There's a lot of like B-roll
influences.
in there.
Yeah, like there's a King Kong scene. Yep. There's a Singing in the Rain.
There's a very old like Merry Melody's cow.
Yeah. And there's even there's the Dance Macabre from the Seventh Seal, which is kind of obscure. I just
delightfully obscure reference to, and then the level of attention to detail in the animation recreating these references is like,
because this is basically Jay's college student film, and we see the RC cars come up again.
But I mean, like how they did the King Kong, how they did the like guy with the like. They like had to draw this stock footage, and it looks like they spent a lot of time making it look like stock footage, but it's still like you just like I can't think of any other cartoon at that time that would have spent the budget on doing that. Like that's a lot of animator time by hand.
Yeah, that's true. And then I think maybe my favorite student film stereotype that we get here is the begging your friend to act in it, even though they have never acted before.
Right.
So because we get a girl in a wedding dress coming in and seeing Jay has hanged himself.
My darling, I've always loved... Oh, no! Prometheus!
Prometheus.
She's like, oh no, Prometheus.
Prometheus, which is probably the funniest possible mispronunciation of Prometheus.
Yeah. And I forget, is she like literally reading off a script? Like does she have the script in her hand?
She has flowers in her hands.
Okay, yeah. All right, so yeah.
and then he corrects her audibly, and then
it's Prometheus. Oh yeah, love it. One of my favorite gags of this episode, I think. So after we watch Jay's student film, he goes to New York Film School.
Lights, camera, unemployment, which is the slogan.
Yeah. And then the professor that he's there to see, another Phil Hartman voice.
Yep.
Professor Blowhard happens to be showing old Orson Welles footage.
The later works of Orson Welles.
A rich, full-bodied wine, sensibly priced at $1 a jug. And now for a little magic, I will make this jug disappear.
So we get his commercial for wine, which I'd honestly forgotten about. I only remembered the frozen peas and the fish sticks gags.
The wine is called Blotto Brothers.
I missed that.
Sensibly priced at $1 a jug.
God, that's cheaper than $2 Chuck. That's amazing.
Yeah. I actually, when I was a younger, more reckless man, I actually bought Carlo Rossi in the jug once.
Wow.
And it was possibly the worst wine I've ever had.
And they don't, they could have made a joke about like Francis Ford Coppola's wine. But
did he have wine then?
Oh, I don't know if he had it back then. Maybe it's a more recent development.
That would have been a really great ref to toss in there. Excuse me.
Oh yeah. But we do get the Orson Welles Rosebud's Frozen Peas commercial in this scene also.
Rosebud. Yes, Rosebud frozen peas. Full of country goodness and green penis. Wait, that's terrible. I quit. Just a handful for the road. Oh, what luck. There's a French fry stuck in my beard. Oh, yeah.
And you don't realize that country is a dirty joke until he says penis. And it's like retroactively a pun.
Oh, I never considered that. I just got the penis thing. But yeah, I think one of the most memorable lines probably in the whole series.
Definitely.
Like you hear so many people like quoting that and calling back to it. I love it. But so those are definitely the memorable gags in this scene. We do get a bit of plot though, because Professor Blowhard basically kind of reignites Jay's passion for criticism. He says he was born to tear people's dreams apart. Which is everyone needs to find their true passion in life,
and he tells the class everyone should strive to be an independent thinker, and they go, we should be independent thinkers.
Yes, yeah, they all say it in unison. So that takes us to the end of Act 2. So as Act 3 begins, so now Jay is all hyped up. He's motivated. He says he's going to win another Pulitzer Prize. We get this flashback to when he won his first Pulitzer Prize, where he's at a disco dance, I guess.
Yes.
Hello, baby. You know what this is?
Your dog tags from the Battle of the Nerds.
You're mean.
It is. Well, it's the Staying Alive. Or what's that? Oh my gosh. I can't remember the name of the movie now. Saturday Night Fever, disco. Right. And he's wearing the Saturday Night Fever clothes, but he does the dance to the song, a different one.
He does flash dance.
Flash dance, yeah.
Yeah.
He's wearing his Pulitzer.
He's wearing like the framed certificate on a chain around his neck. which is great. And then he tries hitting on a woman. It does not go well. But then Jay is like, let's look at that again with the power of imagination. Or, yeah. Which is...
Ew, I don't like that memory at all. But wait, let's look at it again through the magic of self-delusion.
Yeah, like we've definitely seen Jay able to get women much more attractive than him in the reality of this show. This I felt like this was the first time when they kind of do a nod to how it would probably actually go.
Right. But then he goes back, and I love that even in the fantasy version, he's still fat and bald.
Oh, sure, yeah.
He doesn't change his appearance at all. He just changes the outcome. And then, like, after he dances and gets the gal, everyone in the disco claps and, like, a sign unfurls.
Yeah.
Says, "We love you, Jay."
Oh. I mean, that's the power of self-delusion right there.
Yeah. Yep. And then they're like, and then he basically says, "Okay, that's the end of that joke. Back to work."
Yeah. So yeah, he tries coming up with a topic to write about. I guess he's imagining he's gonna like write a column and submit it to a newspaper. I guess the show doesn't spend too much time on the logic of that, but
nope.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a well-known TV critic. He can get a column published. Why not?
And then like the title's just like rapid fire, like
Chaplin, Polanski, and Woody. 3 men and a little lady. Meathead, Laverne, and Opie. Great filmmakers of our day.
And he's like, holy shit, he's right.
Oh yeah, because he's talking about
Penny Marshall, Rob Reiner, and Opie.
Oh wait, I never watched Happy Days. Was Opie? That wasn't
Opie's,
Ron Howard, was it?
Yeah. Well, it was Ron Howard's character on the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, on the Andy Griffith Show, yeah. So she's talking about. God, I just blinked on his name. Who played Opie again? You just told me, and I already forgot.
I just said it, and I also just forgot.
Oh my God. Come on, the guy that directed Solo.
Howard.
Ron Howard.
There we go. Jeez.
Oh my God.
Sorry, Ron Howard.
So then Jay's son Marty comes to check on him. We get a Shining parody.
And like they even copied exactly how it's, because like I went and like checked the Shining clip afterward, and like how it's typed on the page, like the various shapes, that's how it was done in the Shining film. So again, someone had to go and recreate exactly the like typography of the Shining thing.
Wow. And this is definitely, I've pointed this out before, this is kind of another joke that also shows up in The Simpsons.
Yes.
Although it's different enough in The Simpsons. I actually kind of like the way they do it better. Like Marge comes up on the typewriter and it just says, "Feeling fine."
Yeah, and then like it's like black light almost on the walls.
Yeah, I think like lightning strikes or something, and that lights up that it's written all over the walls.
Well, then he's like, "No beer and no TV make Homer something.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do." Which is like, it's just completely different enough.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just a quick little throwaway Shining reference we get. But then we get Jay going for a walk to, I guess, collect his thoughts, and we see
the various
marquees of all these awful films that are currently in theaters.
Paul Reiser in Seinfeld the movie.
Oh God, yeah, so good. And then he ends up going to see Merchant of Venice, starring Keanu Reeves.
Hath not a dude eyes? If you prick us, do we not get bummed? If we eat bad guacamole, do we not blur chunks?
Early Keanu Reeves bashing, I feel like.
Well, I think this was also a reference to the fact that Keanu Reeves was in a Shakespeare movie. He was in
Which one?
He was in Kenneth Branagh's Much Ado About Nothing.
What?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
He's the villain. I forget the character's name, but yeah, he's the villain in that, and it is hilarious.
I know what I'm going to watch tonight, then.
Oh, yes. I mean, it is a good movie, but yeah, that's just an extra special treat, seeing young Keanu attempt Shakespeare. So yeah, this joke, as funny as it is, also rooted in reality. Keanu Reeves in Merchant of Venice. Although this show definitely loves, they have their punching bags that they keep going back to. Keanu Reeves, definitely one of them.
For sure.
Because it's in a different episode. I forget which one, but we get Keanu Reeves and Christian Slater in a Star Trek movie. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Star Trek The X Generation.
Right. Which is also funny because Christian Slater was in a Star Trek movie.
Oh, which one?
He's in Star Trek 6.
Okay.
He has a very small part.
Okay. I've seen very few of the Star Treks. I've seen maybe only the first 2.
6 is, like, as a standalone movie, it's really great. It's also one of the best executions of a mystery, like in film, because usually films try to make a mystery by just withholding information so you can't possibly figure it out. But this one, everything Spock knows as he figures it out. So you can actually, it's really good.
Okay.
This is a like video essay that I've had in the back of my head for like 2 years.
And that was that one directed by Nimoy or directed by Shatner? Because I know they took
Shatner
over.
did 5.
Okay.
Nimoy did 4. I don't remember who did 6.
Okay, because I remember they eventually let like Shatner and Nimoy in the director's chair.
Shatner did 5, which had an ambitious idea of Star Trek versus God, but the execution was just too bad.
Wait, so is it Star Trek 5 where we get the line, "What does God need with a spaceship?"
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I've heard that before. I have no idea what 6 is about.
6 is a Cold War allegory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Yeah, it's really good. And I can't remember who played, but like there's like tons of Shakespeare quoting in that one. They even like there's a dinner with the Klingons and the Enterprise crew, and they start quoting Hamlet in Klingon. So someone had to like translate the Hamlet into Klingon so the actors could do it. It's pretty great.
Well, that's awesome.
Anyway, back to the Critic.
So Keanu Reeves in Merchant of Venice basically gives Jay his inspiration for his soon-to-be Pulitzer Prize-winning column. But instead of writing it, he basically delivers it on English for cab drivers.
He says like, this will be published tomorrow in every major newspaper, but I will reach more people here on this low-rated local public access.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Because I actually, before I went into comedy, I took a stab at being a journalist. Like, I worked at my college newspaper. I eventually became the editor of the arts and entertainment section, which was very fun. And I just thought, man, if I can turn this into a job, I'll be set. Keep in mind, this was, I graduated college in 2007. So not a great time to be going into the publishing industry.
No.
That was when everything was moving online. Like, no newspapers were hiring. It was basically impossible to get a job as a writer. So that ended up
things are much better now.
I know, right? Now we're in the next Great Depression where no one can get a job. But anyway, I realized that well, I still think writing is my number one passion, but journalism not so much. I really think I found comedy is my true passion.
Same.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jay is on his soapbox and he's giving his speech. He says, if you stop going to bad movies, they'll stop making bad movies.
If the movie used to be a TV show, just don't go. After Roman numeral 2, give it a rest. If it's a remake of a classic, rent the classic.
cut to a Hollywood exec in his office who's like, "Oh no, he's figured us out," and he jumps out the window.
Jumps out the window. He just kills himself.
Definitely another gag of someone just jumping out a window. We've seen that in the Critic before. We see that all over.
They love a good defenestration.
Defenestration is it's like slipping on a banana peel. It's always funny. Though I have to give a shout out. I assume you're familiar with the video collective known as Everything Is Terrible.
Yes, who just got ripped off by Quibi.
Oh yes, that's right. They made Memory Hole, which they copied Everything Is Terrible's logo and the name of one of their shows. But I bring them up because if you go to Vimeo, you can find they made Defenestration the movie, which is like a 7-minute long montage of clips from all different movies of defenestrations. And it's amazing because as you watch it, it's like they're grouped into categories because there's people diving head first out windows, then there's people going feet first out windows, then there's people driving vehicles through windows. It's amazing.
I wonder how long it took to like collect all of those clips.
I know it's mind blowing to think about.
An impressive amount of work.
Yeah. But yeah, you see some of the classics in there. Like you see Terminator 2, like you see Arnold being thrown out the shop window in the shopping mall.
Right.
There's Evil Dead 2, like the evil spirit, like when it rushes into the house and it breaks through the window. Oh, I don't know if you've seen, is it The Last Dragon, the blaxploitation kung fu film.
Sure enough.
There's a classic defenestration in that movie that sure enough shows up in there. So yeah, definitely check out Defenestration the movie on Vimeo. Cool. Where were we? Oh, yes. Jay is giving his speech on English for cab drivers.
Yes.
And it eventually reaches all the way to the Pulitzer Prize Committee.
Yeah.
It's hopeless. All the critics have sold out. We just won't give out an award for best criticism this year.
There's something on English for cab drivers I think you all should see.
And like he's been talking so long, his beard starts growing.
Yeah, we see that he's like completely exhausted himself.
It stinks, just don't go.
But sure enough, he does get nominated for a Pulitzer. And so then we see him putting on a tux when he's getting ready for the ceremony. And it's been so long since he's worn it, he finds this phone number like on a slip of paper that he's written down, and he calls the number.
Hello?
Hi, this is Jay Sherman. This may sound funny, but have we ever met?
Jay Sherman? No, doesn't ring a bell.
And it's it's a woman who I guess he hooked up with years ago.
It's the girl from the student film.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's the lady in the Prometheus. It's her.
Oh my God, I never noticed that.
Because she has like a really similar hair. Like, well, I think it's supposed to be her because she looks a lot like the wedding dress lady.
Oh man, that would be mind blowing if that's her.
I think it is. But yeah, she's holding. She says, "It's me, Jay Sherman. Never heard of him." She hangs up and it pulls out, and you see she's holding a baby Jay Sherman.
Yeah. Somehow Jay's son Marty dodged some of those actual genes to where he is a carbon copy of his dad, but the girl from his student film not so lucky.
Nope.
with her son. So we end up at the Pulitzer Prize ceremony. They say it's the only award show not to be televised. I love that. Which is either a dig at the Pulitzers or just a dig at TV and how many freaking award shows are on TV.
So many. You know something that I just found out this year?
What?
The Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards is not run by Nickelodeon.
What is it, run by PricewaterhouseCoopers?
Like it's some other company just makes it, but they brand it Nickelodeon.
That's so weird.
So like Nickelodeon is not in any control of those awards.
I guess that sort of makes sense because it's not like the things that get nominated are all stuff on Nickelodeon. Like it's just stuff from pop culture, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh.
It's just some other company like had an award show pitch, like shopped it around until Nickelodeon bought it, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, so weird. But they still slime people, right?
I wonder if they still do that. I don't know.
I remember seeing a clip a few years ago of Katy Perry at the Kids' Choice Awards, and she gets... It's something like she opens up a gift box and looks inside, and then there's like a jet that shoots slime up in her face from inside, and it looks violent. Like
I'm
it
sure
looks
that's
like
been clipped and slowed down.
Oh man, but it looks like they might have accidentally hurt her or something. It looks bad
because again it's some random company, you know. Yeah. They don't have Nickelodeon's deep expertise on sliming safety.
Yeah, they didn't have, you know, their slime safety technician on hand. All right, so we're at the Pulitzer Prize ceremony, hosted by the aforementioned Jimmy Breslin.
Tonight, we will honor the greatest writers in America with a modest 9x12 certificate and a check for $3,000. $3,000. Stephen King makes that for writing "boo" on a cocktail napkin.
Which, yeah, just a super obscure reference, I guess. But if you know who he is, it kind of actually makes sense that he'd host the Pulitzers, I guess.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Jay wins the Pulitzer. Do we get... I forget if they say, like, if there are other nominees or if they just...
I don't remember because in the scene before, they say, because there's, like, no one to even nominate.
Yeah, that's true. I just thought it would have been, like, another good, like, joke opportunity to name, like, other things nominated. But, all right. They don't have to take every opportunity to make a joke, I guess. All right. So, yeah, Jay wins the award. Oh, yeah, and we don't even really see him give an award, like a victory speech or anything.
Because there's, like, no time.
Yeah. So we just go back to Jay's apartment, and that's where we get the gag with
Duke in the wall.
Duke entering
Duke is just there
through the wall.
And Jay goes, "How'd you get in here?" He goes, "I have my ways." And it just pans over to the Duke hole in the wall.
Yep, love it. And so basically, Duke admits he was wrong. He gives Jay a huge check to come back and do the show again. So hooray, we're back to the status quo, like every, sitcom.
Every good sitcom plot.
Yep. And so then the last scene of this show, we're back with coming attractions, and we're reviewing Arthur 3.
Arthur, I'm afraid you have acute cirrhosis.
And you have a cute little butt.
No, you don't understand. Your pancreas is swollen to the size of a basketball.
Oh, no wonder I dribble so much.
This is very serious. You have less than a year to live.
Oh, don't look now, but somebody's eaten all your popsicles.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite film parodies. They really stretch it as far as it'll go with Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore, yeah,
he's cracking these jokes as the nurse tries to tell him that he's dying.
He's dying. I think this is one that they even brought back for the actual clip show later in the series, right?
Yeah, that's unfortunately the last episode of the entire series is that clip show. But yeah, they definitely show Arthur 3 again. They get some more mileage out of this. And yeah, Jay just says it's good to be back. And that's the credits.
That's it. And it's just so brisk. And all of that last Pulitzer stuff, again, is that's the last 5 minutes of the show. They're like, oh, wait, we have to finish this somehow.
Yeah, it's just to pay off the plot and just get us back to where we started. And then just the very last thing, the closing gag of the usher at the end of the credits, and then Jay says, "Is the snack bar still open?"
I haven't done a lot of research on this, but is this the first show that had regular post-credits gags?
It very possibly could be.
Because I can't think of any other shows before this that had a lot of things where you actually sat through the whole credits and then more things happened.
Yeah. Although, I've remarked on this before, but they really only have 3 or 4 different lines that they just them. Yeah, they just kind of cycle through them, which, like, I don't know, a season only has 13 episodes. You can't come up with 13 different ways to insult an usher. But, I'm still glad it's there. It's still a great gag.
And it also implies that someone is making short films about his life and he watches them all the time. There's another meta layer to it.
There's Jay, the real life person, and then there's the Jay we get on the show, the critic, that Jay the person is watching.
And then there's Jay, the TV critic within the show. Like, there's so many layers.
There's layers, man. Cool. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Was there anything in there that you wanted to touch on that we didn't get to?
I mean, we covered it all. Like this, I'm finishing up a animation pilot, and
cool.
Rewatching this, I was like, I'm not doing enough with the medium. Like, there's so much. Like, you can pack in so much stuff that doesn't have to make sense as long as you keep moving. I'm like, I should be doing that more.
Oh yeah. Like you can like throw to any location. You can bring in random characters. Like, animation's really freeing in that way.
And like, this is just I love this show, and it's so dense with jokes. That's this is the high bar of like jokes per second that I keep in the back of my head. When I'm trying to write something.
And I love that like some of the jokes like serve the plot or serve the character, like they're in line with the character, and some of them are just completely random.
Sometimes it's just Hawk declaring that he was in a porno and no one says anything.
But yeah, definitely a great show to watch if you want to write a sitcom and you want to learn how to like throw out as many jokes as you can. This is definitely a good one to study for that. All right, so yeah, Frankie, thank you so much for being on this episode with me.
Thank you very much.
What do you want to shout out? What do you want to plug?
So my show, which is a magical talk show that I host as a wizard and co-host with Nick Caluzzi, who's also a wizard. We've moved to Twitch for now. Probably we'll keep doing digital stuff, but we're every Friday at 8:00 Pacific on the PAC Twitch. And we also started a podcast, just like you, because we finally got the time to do it. The Wizworld Live podcast, which you can find on Anchor and Spotify, and soon everything else.
Cool. So the Wizarding World. Check that out.
Follow us on Twitter, Wizworld Live.
Wizworld Live on Twitter. Love it. Sounds like Wizarding World, probably a hard one to Google, because I think there might be something else that uses the phrase Wizarding World.
Something, but I looked and Wizarding World Live is legally distinct.
Oh, nice. Perfect. It's like when Nathan Fielder made Dumb Starbucks.
Yes.
Like, it's just different enough.
It's just different enough.
All right. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
That is going to bring this episode of It Stinks, the Critic podcast to a close. But, stay tuned because the next episode will be coming your way soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of It Stinks, the Critic podcast. I'm your host, Brian Rubinow. Our theme song is by Brandon Beck. You can email the podcast at itstinkspod@gmail.com and find us on Twitter and Instagram at itstinkspod.